The province of Skyrim is defined by its harsh dualities, and nowhere is this more evident than in the hold of Eastmarch. Occupying the eastern frontier of the province, bordering the ash-choked lands of Morrowind and the icy expanse of the Sea of Ghosts, Eastmarch presents a landscape forged by the violent interplay of fire and ice. It stands as one of the old holds, a designation that speaks to its antiquity and its status as the cradle of Nordic civilization in Tamriel. The very earth here narrates a story of geological trauma and resilience, a narrative written in rhyolite, travertine, and glacier-scarred granite. The southern and central regions of Eastmarch are dominated by a geological anomaly, known to scholars as the Eastmarch caldera, or colloquially as the Alto. This vast bowl-shaped depression is the remnant of a supervolcanic event that occurred in the Deep Merethic era, or perhaps even the Dawn era. The collapse of this ancient magma chamber created a basin that acts as a thermal engine for the region. While the surrounding mountains are capped with eternal snow, the valley floor remains a landscape of perpetual autumn and vibrant, mineral-stained earth. The ground here breathes. Vents and fissures release continuous plumes of sulfurous steam, heating the groundwater to boiling points and creating extensive networks of hot springs and mineral pools. These waters are rich in dissolved minerals, painting the rocks in vivid hues of ochre, rust, and turquoise. The heat radiating from beneath the crust maintains a microclimate that defies the latitude. Despite the biting winds descending from the Velothi Mountains, the Alto remains free of deep snowpack, allowing for a unique ecosystem to flourish. Dominating the center of this caldera is the Bone-Strewn Crest, a massive protrusion of erosion-resistant rhyolite. This dome is a volcanic plug, the solidified remains of the last magma to rise before the volcano went dormant. It stands as a silent sentinel over the plains, its craggy height serving as a roost for dragons who are drawn to the thermal updrafts and the commanding view of the valley. The presence of these beasts at such a geological landmark suggests a primal connection between the Dova and the Earth's inner fire. The flora of the caldera is uniquely adapted to this mineral-heavy environment. Creep cluster, dragon's tongue, and jazzbay grapes grow in abundance here, thriving in the acidic warm soil. The jazzbay grape in particular is a relic of a time when the climate was even warmer, cultivated by the ancient Nords and even the emperors of old for its sweet, potent juice. These plants add splashes of crimson and gold to the steaming gray landscape, creating a visual tapestry that is both alien and beautiful. The lifeblood of Eastmarch is the White River. Originating from the pristine waters of Lake Linalta in the Falkreath Hold, this mighty waterway carves a path through the heart of Skyrim, gathering volume and velocity as it traverses the central tundra. By the time it reaches Eastmarch, having tumbled down the great cataracts near Valtheim Towers, it is a wide, powerful force of nature. The river's course through Eastmarch defines the human geography of the Hold. It serves as the primary artery of trade and transport, linking the interior of Skyrim to the Sea of Ghosts. The river brings timber from the sawmills of the west, ore from the mines, and grain from the farms of Whiterun. In the winter, the river battles the encroaching ice, its current strong enough to keep the central channels open even when the banks are frozen solid. As the White River approaches the city of Windhelm, it is joined by the River Jorgrim. The Jorgrim is a wild, turbulent tributary fed by Lake Jorgrim high in the Pale. It descends rapidly through the pine forests, a series of white water rapids and waterfalls that thunder into the valley. The confluence of the Jorgrim and the White River creates a natural delta of strategic importance. It was here, at this meeting of waters, that Ysgramor chose to lay the foundations of his city, utilizing the rivers as natural moats and highways. North of Windhelm, the thermal influence of the caldera vanishes, replaced by the crushing cold of the Arctic. The coastline of Eastmarch is a jagged, unforgiving frontier where the Velothi Mountains meet the Sea of Ghosts. Here, the landscape is composed of basalt columns, frozen beaches, and drifting ice floes. The wind, unobstructed by trees or hills, scours the rock, stripping away vegetation and leaving only bare stone and ice. This region is characterized by a polar tundra climate. The skies are frequently overcast, a heavy ceiling of slate-gray clouds that dump endless snow upon the land. When the clouds break, the nights are illuminated by the aurora borealis, the Kynes lights, which shimmer in curtains of green and violet over the glaciers. The isolation of this coast is profound. Save for the occasional horker pod or prowling ice wolf, it is a lifeless, silent world, serving as a stark reminder of the inhospitable nature of the North. Windhelm is more than a city. It is a monument to the endurance of man in the North. Established in the late Merethic era by Ysgramor himself, it holds the distinction of being the oldest continuously inhabited human settlement in Tamriel. The city was built in the aftermath of the Night of Tears and the subsequent return of the 500 companions, constructed to be the capital of the first empire of the Nords. The architecture of Windhelm is singular in its style and construction. It utilizes massive, irregular blocks of quarried granite fitted together without mortar in a technique known as Cyclopean masonry. This method relies on the sheer weight and precise interlocking of the stones to provide structural integrity. The result is a city that feels hewn from the mountain itself, a fortress that has withstood eras of war, siege, and the relentless assault of the elements. The Bridge of Windhelm serves as the city's primary threshold. It is a colossal stone structure spanning the White River, wide enough to accommodate marching armies and heavy carts. The bridge is flanked by defensive towers and parapets designed to act as a kill zone for any attacking force. The stone of the bridge is etched with ancient, wind-worn carvings, dragons, knots, and geometric patterns that date back to the time of the Dragon Cult. Crossing this bridge is a transition from the wild tundra to the ordered, martial world of the ancient Nords. At the northern apex of the city stands the Palace of Kings. This structure is one of the few remaining edifices from the First Era that is still in active use. It was built to be the seat of the High King, a symbol of Nordic dominion over the North. The palace is constructed into the bedrock of the city walls, its towers rising high above the surrounding buildings to command a view of the river valley and the sea beyond. The entrance to the palace is marked by a courtyard adorned with plaques commemorating the great kings of old. Two prominent plaques honor King Harald and King Olaf One-Eye. Harald, the 13th in the line of Ysgramor, is celebrated as the unifier of Skyrim and the founder of the kingdom as a political entity distinct from Atmora. Olaf One-Eye, the conqueror of the dragon Numinex, represents the Nord ideal of personal strength and valor. These monuments serve to legitimize the rule of the current Jarl, linking their authority directly to the heroes of the past. The interior of the palace is a vast, echoing hall known as the Hall of Kings. Rows of thick, heavy columns support a vaulted ceiling lost in shadow. Long tables run the length of the hall, recalling the mead halls of Atmora where warriors would feast before battle. At the far end, raised on a stone dais, sits the throne of Ysgramor. It is a simple, massive seat carved from a single block of stone, unadorned by gold or jewels, emphasizing that a Nord king rules by strength of will, not by a display of wealth. The palace complex includes extensive wings for the court wizard, the barracks for the Jarl's personal guard, and the kitchens that feed the court. Hidden passages and secret rooms are rumored to honeycomb the thick walls, remnants of a time when the palace was a fortress against elven magic and treachery. Specifically, the war room contains detailed maps of the province, used by Galmar Stonefist to plot the campaigns of the Stormcloak rebellion. The Stone Quarter comprises the central and lower districts of Windhelm. It is a dense, vertical labyrinth of stone houses, shops, and inns. The streets are narrow and paved with cobblestones that are perpetually slick with ice. The buildings are tall, huddled together to conserve heat and break the biting wind that funnels through the city gates. The marketplace is located here, an open square where merchants brave the cold to sell meat, weapons, and curiosities. The Ring of the Hawk, the city's forge, is operated by Ongel Waranvil, a smith who prides himself on maintaining the traditional Nord techniques of steelworking. Nearby stands Candlehearth Hall, an inn of ancient repute. The central hearth of the inn features a flame that is supposedly burned for hundreds of years, a symbol of the city's endurance. It is a gathering place for the Nords of the city, a place of warmth, song, and strong mead. Rising above the Stone Quarter is the district known in the ancient language as Valenstrad, or the Avenue of Valor. This upper tier of the city houses the wealthy and noble. The architecture here is grander, with larger estates featuring balconies, courtyards, and intricate stonework. The Clan Shattershield and Clan Cruelsea, two of the oldest families in Windhelm, maintain their residences here. Their homes are miniature fortresses, displaying the wealth accumulated through generations of shipping and trade. Also located in Valenstrad is Harem, a spacious estate that has stood vacant and foreboding following the tragic murders that have plagued the city. The emptiness of Harem in such a prestigious district speaks to the shadow that hangs over Windhelm, a fear that penetrates even the highest wall. The southeastern district of Windhelm, once known as the Snow Quarter, now bears the name of the Grey Quarter. This transformation is the result of the Red Year, the cataclysmic eruption of Red Mountain in 4E5 that devastated the province of Morrowind. The fall of the Ministry of Truth onto Vivek City triggered a chain reaction that buried Vardenfell in ash and rendered much of the mainland uninhabitable. In the wake of this disaster, a massive wave of Dunmer refugees fled west towards Skyrim. Windhelm, situated at the terminus of the Dunmith Pass, was the first major sanctuary they reached. Thousands of Dark Elves arrived at the city gates, carrying the trauma of their destroyed homeland and the ashes of their ancestors. The Decree of Monument, issued by the High King and the Jarls of Skyrim in 4E20, formalized the status of these refugees. It designated a site at the border, Refugees' Rest, as a memorial to their struggle and granted the Dunmer the right to settle in Skyrim, untithed to any thane or hold and self-governed with free worship. This decree allowed the Dunmer to establish a permanent community within Windhelm, occupying the Snow Quarter, which was then the oldest and most dilapidated section of the city. Over the nearly 2 centuries since their arrival, the Dunmer have transformed the Grey Quarter into an enclave of Morrowind culture. The streets are lined with banners bearing the symbols of the great houses, Redoran, Halalu, and Telvanni, though the house affiliations now serve more as cultural markers than political allegiances. Lanterns of colored glass hang from the eaves, casting a warm reddish glow that pierces the snowy gloom, reminiscent of the fires of Red Mountain. The new Genesis Corner Club is the social and political hub of the district. Named after the destroyed town of Genesis in Vardenfell, it serves as a tavern, a meeting hall, and a sanctuary for the Dunmer. Here, Ambaris Rindar presides over a clientele that drinks Sujama and Masti, speaking in their native tongue and keeping the memories of the Ashlands alive. The atmosphere inside is one of defiant survival. It is a place where the Dunmer can be themselves, away from the judgmental eyes of the Nords. Sodri's used wares, operated by Revan Sodri, functions as the district's general store. It is a testament to the economic adaptability of the refugees. Denied access to the guilds and prime market stalls of the Stone Quarter, the Dunmer created their own internal economy. Sodri trades in goods brought from Morrowind as well as items scavenged or traded within Skyrim, ensuring that the community remains self-sufficient. The spiritual life of the Great Quarter is defined by the worship of the Reclamations. Following the fall of the Tribunal, Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek, and the Red Year, the Dunmer people returned to the worship of the good Daedra, Azura, Mephala, and Boethia. This adherence to Daedric worship puts them at odds with the Nord population, who view Daedra worship with suspicion and hostility, further deepening the cultural divide within the city walls. The relationship between the Grey Quarter and the rest of Windhelm is characterized by a tense, icy tolerance. The Dunmer view themselves as a proud people in temporary exile, often regarding the Nords as culturally inferior apes. This sentiment is captured in the text The Dunmer of Skyrim, authored by Athal Saris, which expresses a militant hope that the Dunmer will eventually claim Skyrim for themselves. Conversely, the Nord population, fueled by the nationalist rhetoric of the Stormcloak Rebellion, views the Dunmer as parasites who refuse to integrate or contribute to the war effort. The book Scourge of the Grey Quarter by Frilgith Horsebreaker articulates this resentment, contrasting the lazy Dunmer of Windhelm with the assimilated Dunmer of Riften and the industrious Argonians of the Docks. This mutual animosity has created a city divided, where the Grey Quarter functions as a city within a city, separated by walls of stone and prejudice. The political landscape of Eastmarch is dominated by the Stormcloak Rebellion, led by Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak. Ulfric is a figure forged in the fires of the Great War. A former student of the Greybeards, he possesses the ability to use the Thu'um, the ancient shout magic of the Nords. His rebellion is rooted in the belief that the Empire betrayed Skyrim by signing the White Gold Concordant, which banned the worship of Talos. Talos, or Tiber Septim, is the dragonborn god, the patron deity of the Empire and a hero god to the Nords. To the Stormcloaks, the ban on Talos worship is an existential threat to their culture and their souls. Ulfric's rhetoric centers on the preservation of Nord traditions and the rejection of elven oversight. He rules from the Palace of Kings, styling himself as the defender of the old ways and the rightful High King of Skyrim. The Markarth incident of 4E176 is the pivotal event that radicalized Ulfric. After liberating Markarth from the Reachmen at the request of the Jarl, Ulfric demanded the restoration of Talos worship as his reward. The Empire initially agreed, but then arrested Ulfric when the Thalmor discovered the arrangement. This betrayal convinced Ulfric that the Empire was a puppet of the Dominion and that Skyrim's only hope lay in independence. Serving as Ulfric's housecarl and general is Galmor Stonefist, a veteran of the Great War and a member of an ancient Eastmarch family. Galmar embodies the martial ferocity of the rebellion. While Ulfric provides the vision and the voice, Galmar provides the steel. He organizes the Stormcloak armies, plans the campaigns to liberate the holds, and enforces the Jarl's will with absolute loyalty. Galmar's philosophy is simple. Skyrim belongs to the Nords. He views the war as a struggle for survival against foreign occupiers. His dialogue often reveals a deep-seated distrust of magic, elves, and imperial politics, favoring direct action and the old Nord way of settling disputes through combat. He acts as the anchor for Ulfric, keeping the Jarl focused on the military realities of the war. The toll of the rebellion and the darkening times is personified by Clan Shattershield. Once a pillar of Windhelm society, the family is crumbling under the weight of tragedy. Torbjorn and Tova Shattershield lost their daughter, Frigga, to the serial killer known as the Butcher. This loss plunged the family into grief, with Tova retreating into alcoholism. The tragedy was compounded by the actions of Muri, a Breton woman and family friend who was seduced by the bandit Elaine Dufont. Dufont used Muri to gain access to the Shattershield clan and steal their ancestral warhammer, Aegisbane. The family, feeling betrayed, cast Muri out, a decision that would lead to further sorrow involving the Dark Brotherhood. The Shattershields represent the erosion of Windhelm's old guard, proud, wealthy, but hollowed out by grief and unable to protect their own from the shadows encroaching on the city. The economy of Eastmarch relies heavily on the timber industry, centered around the mills located along the White River. Anga's Mill, situated west of Windhelm on the north bank, is a critical supplier of lumber for the city and the war effort. The mill utilizes the strong current of the river to power its saws, processing logs floated down from the pine forests of the Pale. Owned by Aerie, the mill is a small, self-sufficient community that illustrates the Nords' reliance on the land. Further south, near the border with the Rift, lies Mixwater Mill. Operated by Gilfrey, this mill sits at the confluence of the Darkwater and White Rivers. It serves as a waypoint for travelers and workers in the southern caldera. These mills are the unsung engines of the hold, providing the materials necessary for building fortifications, ships, and the pyres of the dead. South of Windhelm, nestled against the rising slopes of the mountains, lies the settlement of Kynesgrove. This village is sacred to Kyne, the Nordic goddess of the storm and the widow of Shore. The area is known for its dragon mound, the burial site of the dragon Soloknir, who was resurrected by Alduin. The residents of Kynesgrove, including the innkeeper Idra and the miner Rogi Knotbeard, maintain a deep reverence for the sacred nature of the grove. They harvest malachite from the steam-scorched mine, but they do so with a respect for the land that is characteristic of the old holds. The presence of the grove serves as a spiritual anchor in the region, a place where the ancient covenant between the Nords and the sky is remembered. Hidden in the jagged peaks east of Kynesgrove is the orc stronghold of Narzulbur. This community of Orsimer has inhabited Eastmarch for generations, predating many of the current Nord settlements. Ruled by Chief Mahulak, the stronghold sits atop the Gloombound mine, one of the richest sources of ebony ore in Skyrim. The orcs of Narzulbur live by the Code of Malakath, valuing strength, honor, and isolation. Despite the racial tensions in nearby Windhelm, the orcs maintain a pragmatic trading relationship with the Nords, exchanging their masterfully crafted weapons and armor for goods they cannot produce themselves. Their presence adds another layer to the demographic tapestry of Eastmarch, representing a strength that is forged in isolation and discipline. Windhelm harbors a predator within its walls. A serial killer, the Butcher, stalks the snow-swept streets, preying on the young women of the city. The investigation into these crimes leads to Harem, in the vacant estate in the Valenstrad district. Inside Harem, hidden behind the false back of a wardrobe, lies a secret chamber used for necromantic rituals. This room, stained with blood and littered with bones, reveals the butcher's horrific goal: the reconstruction of a human body using the best parts of his victims. The trail leads to Calixto Corium, the proprietor of the House of Curiosities. Driven mad by the death of his sister Lucilia, Calixto attempts to use ancient magic to resurrect her, using the Museum of Oddities, including the infamous Isgrimor's soup spoon, a fork, as a front for his macabre work. In the Aretino residence, another dark secret festers. Aventus Aretino, a young orphan, performs the Black Sacrament to summon the Dark Brotherhood. He chants to the Night Mother, surrounding himself with human remains, flesh and a heart, that he has somehow acquired in the city. The presence of such a ritual, performed by a child in the heart of the city, speaks to the desperation and moral decay that creeps into Windhelm during these times of war. On the frozen coast east of Windhelm lies Ingol Barrow, the tomb of Isgrimor's son, Ingol. Ingol perished during the return, his ship claimed by the Sea of Ghosts. Isgrimor built Windhelm within sight of this barrow so he could always look upon his son's resting place. The interior of the barrow is unique among Nordic ruins. It is not filled with the usual aggressive draugr, but with glowing blue orbs, sea ghosts, that dance through the air and guide the explorer deep into the tomb. These spirits create an atmosphere of sorrowful beauty rather than terror. Deep within the shade of Ingol guards the Helm of Ingol, a powerful artifact of the Atmoran Age. High in the Velothi Mountains, accessible only by flight, stands the temple complex of Skuldafn. This ruin was a primary stronghold of the dragon cult and holds a secret of world-ending importance, a permanent portal to Sovngarde. Guarded by the dragon priest Narkrin, this portal allows Alduin the World Eater to travel between Mundus and the afterlife to devour the souls of the Nord dead. The existence of Skuldafn proves the dragon cult's mastery over planar magic and their intent to dominate not just the living world, but the spiritual realm of the Nords as well. In the marshes of the Alto, Kronvanger Cave appears to be a simple spider den. However, a secret mechanism in the cave wall reveals a hidden chamber. Inside lies a fully established vampire lair, hidden away from the sun and the eyes of the living. These ancient predators utilize the spiders as natural guards, waiting in the dark to feed on the unwary. This hidden lair exemplifies the dangers that lie beneath the surface of the hold, threats that are ancient, patient, and hungry. Eastmarch is a land of endurance. It is the anvil upon which the history of the Nords has been hammered. From the steam-choked plains of the Alto to the frozen ramparts of the Palace of Kings, the hold embodies the elemental forces of Skyrim. The people here, the Nords who trace their lineage to Isgrimor, the Dunmer refugees preserving their culture in the ash-gray streets, the orcs forging steel in the mountains, are all survivors. They live in the shadows of giants, dragons, and ancient kings. The White River flows on, carrying the melting snows of the throat of the world to the sea, indifferent to the wars of men. But in Windhelm, the fire of the rebellion burns, fueled by the memory of the return and the unyielding spirit of the North. This is Eastmarch, the oldest ground, the deepest roots, and the fiercest heart of Skyrim.